Yo, what's up, booktube? It's David from Live Forever Die Trying, and today I have my camera focused. But I have my second wrap-up TBR of the year. I actually just got done filming my wrap-up, so you'll have to forgive me. But we'll see if we can keep this trend going. January's TBR was only 2 weeks late. This one, closer to 1 week late. March might be on time. But anyways, I got 4 books that I'm trying to read this month, plus another 2 that I've already started but not finished. So we'll talk about those and just give you the synopsis of these books. If you want to read along, you can pick these up. Otherwise, hopefully you can get some ideas and inspiration. As always, we'll be covering all these books in the February wrap-up. So without further ado, let's jump into the first one here. We have Drinks by David Nutt. This is a book that when I posted it on my Instagram, got the most attention that I have ever gotten. It got something like 25 shares and saves and reached 1,000 people. And at the time of posting it, I had 350 followers. By the way, link in the description below, shameless self-plug. But Drinks. This recently came out. It's actually sent to me by the publishers, which is Hatchet Books. David Nutt is somebody that I really enjoy reading. If you're not familiar, I'm going to butcher his backstory a little bit, but he was on one of the drug research and recommendation committees for the government in the UK, I believe. And he actually got in hot water for saying drugs like marijuana were not as harmful as drugs like alcohol. And he ended up getting kicked off that committee, caused a big stir in social media and traditional media. And then now runs drug education podcasts, and he's on multiple different committees and sponsored by universities and just fighting the good fight. So in this book, judging by the cover, we're obviously looking at the new science of alcohol and your health. Reading the back page for us. From after-work happy hours to nightly glass of wine, we're used to thinking of alcohol as a normal part of our daily lives. But in Drink, alcohol expert David Nutt takes a fascinating science-based look at drinking to unpack why we should reconsider our favorite pastime. Using cutting-edge scientific research and years of hands-on experience in the field, Nutt delves into the long and short-term effects of alcohol. He addresses topics such as hormones, mental health, fertility, and addiction, explaining how alcohol travels through our bodies and brains, what happens at each stage of inebriation, and how it affects us even after leaving our system. With accessible, easy-to-understand language, he sheds light on responsible drinking and what it truly means, without preaching or judging. Drink simply provides a clear evidence-based facts to help you make the most informed choices about your consumption. I'm having trouble today, guys, so you'll have to forgive me. I do want to put emphasis on that easy to understand and clear language. When I read Drugs by David Nutt, I was very surprised that he did not pick a side, if you would. So when he got kicked off of his committee, and I read about this guy, I thought he was going to be somebody like Timothy Leary, where he's very pro-drug, almost blindingly so, and refuses to look at the negative aspects. But he's not. He's one of the most level-headed drug researchers that I've ever come across. And what I mean by that is he will not hesitate to talk about the negative influences of this, but, and I'll know after reading this if it's true, but I also see him probably commenting on the benefits of the sociability of alcohol, as well as just, not condoning it, but not being afraid to shed positive light on the substance as well. We'll touch more about this in the wrap-up. Second up, and in a similar vein, I have Ketamine by Bita Moghaddam. Hope I'm pronouncing that right. This comes from MIT Press Essential Knowledge series and was actually sent to me by MIT Press. So hey, mama, we made it. But this is something I'm really excited about. I feel like from the description it's going to read like Mescaline by Mike J, where it's going to be talking about the history of the drug as well as how it's currently being adapted to a more scientific use to help depression and PTSD. And right on the back cover, we see that. The emergence of ketamine, previously known as a combat anesthetic and club drug, as a treatment for depression. So this is one I'm really looking forward to. Just flipping through the covers, it looks like it has a few descriptions and illustrations here. And looking briefly at just the language in the book, it seems like it's going to be a very accessible read for somebody who is not a scientist. I'm always concerned about university presses because, it is an academic institution. But so far, I've had really, really good luck with all of them as far as just, a layperson reading them. Third up, I have American State Papers, Federalist by J.S. Mill. So this is the Britannica Great Book Series. So I believe this is like a big like encyclopedic work of just like, all the essentials, whether that's from literary canon up to like policy, philosophy, politics, and what have you. So basically what this contains is like the Bill of Rights, Constitution, all that jazz, the papers that founded this country. But what I was most interested in, and what I'm reading with a friend, is all of the Federalist Papers. So this is something I wasn't necessarily familiar about, like off the bat, but this is all of the different, like, discussions between our founding fathers about how the new country should be run. So it's about, I think, 80 or 90 different pages that discuss everything about, like, what liberty is, how much power should the government hold, and just goes down the list of everything that's kind of, like, important to the founding of the country. So, we hear a lot in everyday news about, what this country is supposed to stand for. We have constitutionalists that say that the Constitution is never supposed to change. And then we have, quotes and papers between the founding fathers that say, this should be an evolving contract with the country, social contract, rather. And just getting at the core philosophy, I think, is going to at least help me understand the country I live in better and, be better informed when I'm reading other books on politics. Politics is something that's always come across as very philosophical for me. You can say one word, like liberty, but it could have 20 different contexts. The same way you can say, like, how can you know something? And you can have 20 different conversations about, like, what knowledge is in philosophy. So I think getting at the core and really figuring out what these people who wrote this document think about these words is going to help me better integrate the remainder of the politics that I've been reading lately into kind of an everyday conversationalist sense. Then, for a book club, I have Eating Animals by Jonathan Safran Foer. I hope I'm saying that right. And the back cover of this book, like many young Americans, Jonathan Safran Foer spent much of his teenage and college years oscillating between enthusiastic carnivore and occasional vegetarian. As he became a husband and then father, the moral dimension of eating became increasingly important to him. Faced with the prospect of being unable to explain to his son why we eat some animals and not others, Foer set out to explore the origins of many eating traditions with the fictions involved with their creation. Traveling to the darkest corners of darkest corners of our dining habits, Foer raises the unspoken question behind every fish we eat, every chicken we fry, and every burger we grill. Part memoir and part investigative report, Eating Animals is a book that, in the words of LA Times, secures Jonathan a place at the table with our greatest philosophers. So, we're going to see if I'm vegetarian or not by the end of this. All in all, I do like the whole animal rights and the what we eat kind of like movement, if you would. Just because it kind of intertwines with a lot of politics, philosophy, whether that is like ethics on suffering or what have you, as well as just the treatment of animals, industrial farming, and then even climate change. So it's like a very intersectional topic, if that's the right word to use. So this seems like a good foray into that field, much the way that like Michael Pollan's Omnivore Dilemma would be. Really excited about this. All right, and then book number 5, we have Jesus Interrupted. And Christian history is something that is really just kind of interesting to me. I think it's important, but it's also fun to just argue or talk about. And so let's back up. What do I mean by that? So first of all, historical Christianity. This book is going to be talking about a horizontal comparison between the synoptic Gospels. So that's Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. 4 of the New Testament books that were written around the same time, 30 AD to I believe 100 AD, written in different languages by different people, but all tell basically the same story, right? Basically being the key word. What this book is going to do is it's going to compare the differences between those stories by a horizontal critique. So each book is going to lay out the same story, adding certain details, leaving certain details out, and Jesus Interrupted, what he does is he looks at what these differences mean. So for example, on the cross, right before Jesus dies in one of the books, the curtain temple rips open, symbolizing God being released into the world. However, in another one of the books, it rips directly after his death. So what is the difference? This book's going to talk about that. But backing up, I really got bit by this kind of Christian history bug back when I read Reza Aslan's Zealot about like who Jesus was as a historical figure, you know, a Jewish radical basically, you know, hardcore socialist back in the day. And it's just a very interesting take on the person. And the historical critique kind of makes you a better informed Christian, or what's the word I'm looking for? It makes you better at arguing against Christians, either way. So this book can either help you get closer to God, if that's what you're trying to do, by learning, you know, just more history about the Bible, how it was written, who wrote it, or, you know, if you're arguing with the Christians, maybe you have family that's Christian and you're not, if you read this book and you know more than them, you know, maybe it makes you better at arguing against it. But either way, you know, all in all, Christianity is like the biggest religion. It's probably, at least in Western life, it's one of the more common things that you'll encounter on a day-to-day basis. So just being educated about it, what it means, and how the people who learn this act, even if you're not Christian, it's, in my opinion, a very valuable topic. So with this book, hopefully I am bolstering, you know, that little pet subject. It feels very far away from everything else I read on this channel, whether that is philosophy of eating animals, or molecular biology, or, I don't know, religion just kind of feels out of place, but on the same, like, note, I kind of love it. Like, I love reading about Buddhism and meditation, Christianity. I also want to go into, like, the Tibetan Book of the Dead and read, like, the Bhagavad Gita and stuff like that in the future. But, I don't know. Religion feels really important just to kind of figure out how we are, what we are. But I'm tangenting really hard now, so I'll reel that in. All in all, really excited for this book. And then finally, I'm not going to spend too much time on it, for a third month, trying to finish Ageless by Andrew Steele. I'm about halfway done now, and it is a fantastic read so far, but I just haven't been in I guess I haven't been in the right headspace to really sit down and take my time and make the notes I need to note, to where I'm feeling like I'm enjoying it by learning new things. A simple thesis of it so far, or I guess summary, is it's a very entertaining and engaging book. I honestly think this might be on the same par as Lifespan by David Sinclair, or like The Abolition of Aging by David Wood, where it is equally friendly to beginners as well as people that are more informed about the science. It's going to give you enough science that if you're looking for that, you're learning new things, because it is written fairly recently and is on the cutting edge. But if you don't know anything about radical life extension, this is going to be a perfect introductory book as well. So all in all, what does that put me at? 6 books that I'm trying to read in February, the shortest month. Meanwhile, over in January, I only finished 4. But I am about halfway done through 2 of these books already. So hopefully February will shape out all right. We'll see, fingers crossed. As always, if you want to read along, the books are in Amazon affiliate links in the comments or description below. I do get a small cut of those, but if you would rather support local bookstores first, I definitely encourage that. As well as if you use smile.amazon.com, you can donate a portion of your Amazon purchase to charity. I always recommend the SINS Foundation Against Research and Senescent Cell kind of therapies. But yeah, that's pretty much all I got for you today. Feel free to like, comment, and subscribe if you want to help the channel grow. And until next time, peace.